going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Round Table here with Ben. What's going on, man?
A lot.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, no, it's been a good week. It's been a lot going on. We got a lot going on today. We got family members' baby shower, so that'll be fun. You know, I don't generally like those types of things, but I think it's always fun to kind of get around some family members, and Gary will be there, and Garrett will be there. We saw them yesterday, but you guys will be there, and so it'll be kind of fun to and it's an early one, so you can kind of still go home and get stuff done. So
the wife said it ended at like noon or something, which is great. I still got to do some work, so
yeah, that's how I feel. I'm like, I just want to enjoy some of the fruits of my labor that I've been putting in the last couple of months. So I'm like, I just want to be at home and get some stuff done. So it'll be nice. It'll be nice to kind of go home early. And
I wouldn't say I necessarily want to be home, but I have a lot I need to take care of. Whether it's working on my house, filling the dump trailer that's in my driveway, or actual work that makes me money. I need to do one of them today, and it's probably the one that makes me money, especially with everything we're thinking about. We got going on.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. But should be a good day. Should be a good, busy, fun day, and then
it's been a pretty good weekend.
It's been good. Saw you yesterday, man. That's I don't know what's going on about this weather, but I don't know if it's just here or over there. But I feel like the last week it's just been like either hail, pouring rain, lightning storms. It's been crazy.
Oh, my wife had one of her clients come, and yeah, it started to raining like freaking crazy, and
it's been weird, dude. And it's like the day's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it'll be nice. And then 10 minutes later, it's like just wrecked, dark, lightning, rain pouring down. I'm like, dude, it's like some Jumanji shit right here.
Well, that's how it was when we were out by your house, looking at everything. It was nice and quiet, and then as we're wrapping up what we were doing, next thing we know, it's just pouring rain.
Right, dude. Yeah. Gary's like, ever since you moved out here.
Yeah. It's not like where we were parked in the driveway. We had to walk a minute to get to the car.
It's so crazy, man. I don't know what's going on with this weather, but I think it's just I told Taylor, like, it's about to turn. It's about to get a little chillier. It's not going to say get chilly, but the temperature has definitely dropped from what it was 2 weeks ago in the hundreds. It's now kind of in the higher 80s. It still feels hot as hell, but
hey, it's helping my lawn, so
yeah.
Get
that greened out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's helping that finally.
Get some water out
yeah. Oh, shit. Oh, man. These house projects are killing me, though. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah. Don't even get me. Yeah. I don't want house projects, so.
Yeah, I know. I'm working towards it. Trust me.
Well, what's up, man? What you got?
Oh, I just want to ask you a few things. See, maybe one or two, see where we go with it.
Let's do it.
One thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is like the disconnect from your spouse, because that can make shit really freaking hard. Everything, it from the smallest things to the biggest things can make it really, really hard. So how do you deal with that? Have you had to deal with that? And then what are ways you like to go about trying to rebuild that?
I mean, I feel like we have a huge disconnect. And that's just something that we talk about that all the time. I think we sometimes goes back to like communication, right?
At least you're present with it.
Yeah, we talk about that because like I said, I'll think that I communicated something a specific way or I've made it clear of what my expectation is, but then we aren't aligned with what we had discussed, and I think we just try to revisit that as much as possible. I try to just bring those things up as they come and be like, hey, are we, is this kind of the plan again? And sometimes I think it can be like monotonous. You can kind of be talking about the same thing, or even that turns into argument. Like, well, we already talked about that way. I'm like over confirming because I think I want to make sure that we're still aligned with this, or we're still doing it this way. But yeah, I think you could get easily just disconnected from your partner, like in various different ways. I mean, with us, I'm trying to think of a recent like disconnect that we've had to kind of work through. But I think a lot of it has just been we've tried to stay connected with each other because there's so many changes that are happening in our life that we try to align to make sure that we're still on the same page.
Well, and not to cut you off, but you guys try to, from my understanding, put yourselves as a priority too, like making sure you're going out on dates or taking the time. I mean, we've kind of talked about this a little bit in one of our Q&As, but that we did. But you know, from my understanding, you guys try to spend the time talking. You know, even if it's just reading together, just something where you guys are connecting with each other.
Yeah, we do definitely do that. So we do a lot of like, we call it like set time aside for each other, right? Whether it's 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and we make those things as part of our connection to help build our relationship or help check in with each other, I guess you can say. So things like our walks, those are things that we've done to set time aside. You know, and that way, that actually branched off from different things. It was like, we want to, you know, she wanted to work out with me or have like some sort of workout with me. So I was like, well, we don't really, at that time, we weren't really going to the gym together. You know, she wasn't really going to the gym, and then I was going to EOS. And so that was part of it, but it was also stemmed off of wanting to communicate more. We wanted to talk about more. We wanted to connect more. And that came from, a lot of the times that she'd come home from work, you know, we would only have time to have dinner, catch up with some stuff, and then essentially go to bed to do it all over again the next day. So she would try to talk to me while we're in bed, and I am like, if I have my head in the pillow, like I'm probably going to fall asleep, especially when it comes to like in the bed. And so we've had to work at that. And I've been like, look, like I can't do that. Like I understand that you want to connect, but that time for me is like, I can't do it. Like I will try, but I really like physically I'll fall asleep. And so we determined like, okay, well, let's use these walks to talk about our goals, to talk about how your day was, to talk about how my day was. So it gives us 45 minutes to an hour together. And sometimes we have the kids, so it's a little harder. You know, that always adds a different dynamic because you got to make sure to keep them alive while they're doing crazy stuff. But, you know, so that adds an extra, you know, but sometimes, you know, if it's late and the kid, now that she's older, like, hey, do you want to go? She's like, oh, I don't want to go. I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to go for a quick walk around the block. You cool? And she's like, yeah, I'll stay here and whatever. So we started doing some of that where she just, you know, she's a teenager and turned into a teenager. So now she, you know, wants to be alone or wants to talk to her friends or be in her room. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, if you don't want to come, that's completely fine. We're just going to walk the block for, you know, 15, 20 minutes. So we've used those times. We've done that. We use our drives a lot, too. We drive a lot. You know, that's just, I feel like part of life now. So we use our driving time to really check in with each other. And I've told you, like, there's two places that shit either gets accomplished or we just bump heads. It's either when we're walking or driving.
You got nowhere to go, really.
And driving is one of those things where, like you said, you can't get out of the car. You can't. And so we start talking about our goals. We start talking about our dreams. We start talking about what can we do better so it's usually when we're going on vacation or if we're going on to a convention, we're like, okay, what are we going to do when we get back? How are we going to get momentum back because we're stepping away? Or, you know, we recheck into like where we're at in our relationship. Hey, like, you know, I don't feel like we've really got enough time to be, you know, spend time with each other. Or she'll say that usually, but I'm like, okay, well, what do we need to do? What do you need from me? Okay, well, I need you to, you know, I try to ask specifically what she needs. So, because it goes back to, you know, the love languages where I might think that I'm fulfilling or connecting with her, but it's not.
It's not the way she needs it or wants it.
Exactly. So I'll tell her, like, what do you want from me? Like, what specifically do you need? And she's like, oh, I just want to spend more time with you. And I'm like, okay, well, it's the same thing, right? Well, we're busy. We don't have enough time. Those types of conversations have happened, but I'm like, well, if we want to make it a priority, then we got to make it a priority. And so let's sit 15 minutes, you know, every Sunday before we go to bed to talk about the week that we just went through in the following week. So that was one thing that we instituted Now that's like, okay, every Sunday we check in right before, 8 p.m. we have it planned. Excuse me. We have it planned, and we check in with each other. We see what we did last week. We plan out our meals for the next week. We plan out how our week's going to go according to plans and meetings and stuff we're going to, we have to be at. All her other engagements she has to be at. So we kind of double check our schedules, and then we fit in those things that we need and prioritize for ourselves, whether it be a date, whether it be taking Gam somewhere, getting stuff done around the house, or getting stuff done just needs to happen. So we talk through those things on Sunday now. So it just gives us that extra opportunity to sit down and not just let life pass you by.
Yeah.
And then you're like, dang, another week is gone, a month is gone, a year is gone. So it just kind of helps us stay connected to each other, but also the goals that we have coming into literally the end of the year now and into next year. So
it's insane how fast this year's going.
What about you? Yeah, dude, it's crazy, man. What about you guys though? Like, how do you guys? Because I know you do the same thing. You guys go on a lot of dates. You guys do.
Yeah, we are definitely working. We've had issues with like disconnecting back and forth for various reasons. But yeah, that's kind of the same thing. I always try to set some time aside. We generally, after the kids go to bed, try to spend, and I've gotten a lot better because I'm a lot like you. Most of the time I just lay down and I'm out, but I have noticed the more I take care of myself, by drinking the water and eating the right food, I have more energy throughout the day. So that helps. Try to spend some time together, whether it is just laying there watching a show or, like you said, talking about this and that. Lately we've talked quite a bit about everything we're thinking about doing and got going on. But that's the big thing, is just trying, to me, and this is all to me, is just try to talk about the stuff, try to connect with her, like we did a little date night Friday night. Like, I surprised her with a date night. I let the kids down, apparently, even though they love going to grandma's. They thought we were doing something super cool. I was like, well, you guys love going to grandma's, but I put the effort in to plan it all, kind of stuff like that, where we just take the time to plan something and go do something. Mainly that, like you said, talking. Mm-hmm. If we're going, like you said, driving, there's a lot of times that we end up talking a lot while we're driving, about goals, about life, about kind of everything we have going on, things that we want to try, whatever it might be. So,
right. Do you feel like, I think that's a good question for me. Like, do you feel like more connected now? Not more connected like just now, but do you feel like a connection right now that you guys are talking about doing specific things to?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because we both have the common goal.
Mm-hmm.
Because we both want the end result. We want the carrot at the end of the stick. But no, because the problem I have, and this comes back to the procrastination that I'm really great at, is all the projects that I have going on around this current house. If they were done, it would be a lot easier to be like, okay, let's just list it now,
right.
And be done. But because I've procrastinated so long getting stuff done, now we're kind of thinking about all of this. She's like, to me, I'm like, well, I understand. Like, I have to take the accountability. Like, this is my fault. I should have just got this shit done like years ago when it was time, or whatever, when it was time. Some of it was we didn't want to spend the money. Some of it was just choosing other things as a priority. Because, setting, for instance, tiling my shower, I spent probably 6 to 8 hours doing it. So, almost a whole day away from my family doing that, and like I was telling her because I was working on it Friday for a while. I was like, it really sucks for multiple because we're thinking about moving. We don't have anything set in stone. We're just kind of talking, but we're looking, and I'm like, it sucks because, she ended up taking the kids to the library because she wants to try to get them back into going to the library, reading books, school time again. And I'm like, it sucked because instead of being able to go enjoy the time with you guys, I have to work on these freaking damn projects. So yeah, I definitely am like, it motivates me more to get a newer, nicer house that I don't have to do as much on. But now I got to backpedal from my procrastination and get my projects done.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's crunch time. And I think that puts a little bit of a disconnect there, because she's like, yeah, I get it, because we spent the time together. We were doing things, and it wasn't like I necessarily, her or I set the time aside for me to do these things,
Mm-hmm.
because it was always, like, baby shower, this, let's go here, let's go out, do this, let's go do that, like, let's go hang out, let's just relax in bed. Something always was better, higher priorities than what needed to get done. So that creates a disconnect, but getting it done, that's, and having the common goal, I think helps reconnect it. But I try to make sure I put a lot of time in, no phone, just hang out, whether I'm just with you. Sometimes that's all I need, is just being with her. But, it's hard when you don't know how to reconnect, though, when you can't figure out where the break was.
Mm.
I don't know if that's ever been an issue, but when I can't figure out exactly where the break was, then I can't say, okay, do I need to step up and say this is my fault, or do you need to step up and say it's your fault, or do we need to come together and say it's our fault?
Yeah.
Or is it just life? Are we just in one of those phases where we're kind of at the low and we need to come back up?
Yeah, I think it's hard, because I can see that too sometimes, like, we don't know where exactly went wrong, or where it kind of deviated from what we wanted to do. And I think that's the hardest part, right? That's the hardest part in anything, is when you found out that you deviated from your original plan and then you're so far off track. But I think that's also the beauty of, like, the growth in somebody, that they can be that far out and be like, oh shoot, like, I got to reel it back in. Because a lot of times people would just be like, well, we're already here. Like, it'd be harder to go try to get back to where we were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can use anything out. It doesn't even have to be relationship based. It could be whatever you want. It could be going to the gym, or it can be, doing projects or whatever. When you've gone so far off, you're like, how do we get back? And we've had those conversations, like, we're so far off. We're not working on a relationship, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, what do we, and me, I'm like, well, okay, let's figure this out. Like, what do we need to do? And she's like, well, let's figure out how we got there. And I'm like, I don't care how we got there. I don't care whose fault it was. I don't like, so, and I know maybe that's not the right way to approach it, because, my wife's very good at, like, she needs to know, and I need to know why certain things too, but she is great at, like, wanting to come to the root of it. Like, what fundamentally went wrong, so we can avoid that. And I'm like, I don't give a hoot, like, why that happened. Let's just fix it. So, and I think both methods is like, there's like a middle ground that you need to find there. I don't think mine is right, and I don't think hers is all the way right, but I think somewhere in the middle of, like, okay, the acceptance part, like, all I can do is say, like, I agree, like, I have not been present, and I'll give my excuses of why. But I'll be like that, and I don't on it, and then I have always followed up with, because I know we've had this recently, and it was because of, this big life change, right? Before that, it was like, well, look, like, the disconnect is you got me running here doing this, and this, but then you also want all these huge goals and things that you want me to accomplish. I can't focus on this. I can't do this with you. Got me, So my disconnect is, I got 50 million other things on my head, in my brain right now, and I'm primal. Like, think of me as a primal being. Like, I don't do well with multiple things in my head. So you tell me what you want me to put my energy in, and I'll do it. You've always seen it happen. When I was out, not being an alcoholic, you told me, hey, this ain't gonna work. I put everything I had into that. I put everything I had into a relationship. And so, we've kind of had that dynamic where it's like, okay, we can, like, I don't mind talking about it, but also tell me what, like, I want to tell you what we're going to do to move forward. Because I don't like to dwell on this. Like, I feel like to me, it's dwelling, and to her, it's like resolution, like closure. Like, okay, we're going to do that. And to me, I just want to fix it. And so we've had those conversations where, like, well, look, I don't know where it went wrong. we talk about it briefly, and and I'll admit my faults. Like, I'll be like, you know what, you're right. Like, I have not been totally with you. I've been focusing on other things. I want to be better, and then this is what we need to do. And a lot of times it's me remembering what she needs, what she likes, what connects with her, and being like, okay, we're gonna take 15 minutes on the weekends and just sit and talk. We're going to shut our phones off. We're going to shut the TV off. The kid's going to go to bed. Just 15 minutes, you and I, just talking, just connecting. Or just holding each other, whatever. Like, I think a lot of the times, like, as men, at least maybe for me, like, anytime you start getting, physical, you'll kind of hold each other. You start, like, you might want to try to take it somewhere else. And I think for me, it's been like, slow down, just embrace the moment.
I was gonna say,
your wife might like, oh, so you're holding me to try to fool
get
around.
More, yeah.
Where if you make your wife feel more like loved, in the sense that, and if it goes or whatever, but if you just hold her and just are like there, like a cuddle or a hold, and just embrace, that's gonna be more like, that's stronger love than it would be to just. And I think it also sets a different perception from them to you, to think like, okay, every time he's like leaning in and being lovey-dovey, if you're not that already, and then every time you do it, it's only because you're like to get some. It's like, that's baby shit. Like, they're gonna catch that like immediately. So it's just finding those things to just like, that was something that I had to learn. Just embrace her and hold her, and be there for her, listen to her, and those little things have helped build that connection again. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find where it went wrong, and it's hard to.
Sometimes you can't find where it went wrong though either.
But the great thing is that you're actively looking for that thing. You're actively trying to fix it, and I think that was my biggest like aha moment. I was like, damn, like, this shit is hard. Well, then you meet people that are like, how are you with the wife? How are your kids? Like, oh, we're good. It's like, well, like, okay, but like, what have you guys done? Like, well, I don't know. Like, she does her own things and I do. I'm like, damn.
It's that surface shit.
Bro, like, it's going to, like, you're going to wake up one day and you're not going to love each other. And you're just going to be like, why do we stay with each other so long? Or some other dude comes around, or girl, and then she shows affection, or he shows her affection, or just listens to them, and then they're like, well, that's what I've been craving at home. I don't know, you don't know, but
it's that surface stuff we said forever ago. So many people live there and they don't ever try to go any deeper, and it's part of growth too, because I've noticed, right as you had said something a minute ago, I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but through the course of our growth, I've been able to recognize, okay, this is where I might be at fault more, or she's like, this is, where I might be at fault more, blah, blah, blah. Either what way we look at it, that's where we've ended up most of the time is, okay, yeah, this is my fault, or, this is my fault. Trying just the growth in it, you can actually recognize like, okay, yes, there was a dip right here. Why did we have this dip? What happened? I mean, we're pretty good about the common goals. I mean, we talk a good amount, so we have that down. It's just some of the, and even like the laying in bed, like not doing anything, just holding each other. Mm-hmm. Like, we do that quite a bit. She's really into these books right now, so I'm like, God damn, I'm about to throw this book down. I'm just kidding. I'm when it's that time, I'm like, damn it, put the fucking book down. But other than that, it's not bad. Read. I really don't fucking care,
Well, I think when you were saying that, I think also too, like, people evolve. You evolve, and your spouse evolves. So I think things change. The dynamic it should always be changing just a little bit. Yeah. You're almost trying to catch each other up, but that's like the beauty. Like, it's hard. It's super hard, because then you're like, do we still love each other? Are we still like, are we disconnected so much? And then you're like, oh, we've done all this, and you actually think about like, oh dang, like we've actually been really connected. It's just we're trying harder. It's uncomfortable. It's growing. It's not like this stagnant thing where it's like, oh yeah, I just give my wife flowers every once in a while. You know, I give her a peck when I get home and I come downstairs and play video games or whatever. Like,
see, I could never do that because I've had, you know, even from the beginning of our relationship, like I've never been a gamer type person. You know, I've bought and sold consoles just because I'm like, I've never had my whole life. Like, you know, my brother that I'm my closest in age with, like, he was always wanted to play the games, and it's kind of, I can see a little bit of the, like, me and my brother and my daughters too, because, you know, my oldest is perfectly fine TV, tablet all day long, and my youngest gets bored, and she's like me, and at that point she'll come in, and, you know, if wife and I are just relaxing for a little while, she'll come in and start hanging out with us and bugging us or bugging the cats, and when I say bugging us, she's just messing around, you know, when we're trying to relax, or, you know, whatever, she wants to go do something, then she gets upset because sister doesn't want to play. And that's how it was when I was a kid, and that's kind of how it still am. You know, I still am that way. Like, I have all these projects, but sometimes they don't pique my interest, and so that makes it very hard for me to want to do them. Whereas I'd rather, you know, we've and I talked about it with my daughter the other day. You know, sometimes a priority seems more important, like cleaning my freaking garage or something seems way more important than maybe going tiling in my shower that I should have, you know, 10 months ago, whatever. Shit like that, where it's just like, this seems more important. This seems more important. So that is something that has caused a pretty big disconnect between us. But when she voiced her issue with it, I've been able to kind of like look back and be like, okay, I do need to prioritize this. I can see where your thoughts are, like, you know, the garage really doesn't matter, or the closet downstairs that literally nobody ever fucking sees doesn't matter compared to the kitchen or the living room, something that people might see more often. And I'm like, okay, I can, as much as that's bugging me, I need to get this done first before I go take care of that. And I need to voice it to her. I can't just like disappear and be down doing something for an hour and her like, what the hell? Why does this closet matter? I don't know. It was just bugging me. You know, or the garage was bugging me, something. You know, so that's definitely something I've learned, that I'm like, okay, I need to see her point as to what's important. And if I think something is super important, I'm going to voice my opinion, you know. Like, there was one day my garage is a disaster and I fucking hate it, but I'm working on changing everything. You know, everything was getting so tight around her Jeep that I'm like, man, I'm worried about parking in here sometimes, or, you know, there's not a whole lot of room to get in the doors. And I felt bad, and I'm like, you know, the inside was a little bit of a mess, and she comes out, she's like, well, why are you cleaning the garage? I said, because it's not fair to you that you have this little space. Like, this needs to be straightened up a little bit. Took, you know, an hour or whatever. It's still a disaster, but I just moved stuff enough around that it opened up more space for her. You know, part of it was just the way I'd parked the Razor in the garage. Just parked it like crap on. Not necessarily on purpose, but, you know, I just pulled it in and didn't really hug the wall like I usually do. So it opens that up. Just doing those few things opened it up a ton, and stopped being lazy and took some shit downstairs that needed to come downstairs that didn't have a reason to be in the garage anymore. So just little things like that. Because, and I was telling, where I was going with this, I was telling my daughter, I was like, you know, some things seem super important to you, but when mom and dad are telling you that we need to get something done, that's what needs to be top priority. You know, even if it's just getting socks and shoes on because we're trying to go out the door, that's more important than you chasing the cat. And it's causing a disconnect between us, because now I'm upset at you when I could just be happy that you did what I asked and we're out the door. Right. Instead, I'm sitting here freaking yelling and screaming at you because you won't get your shit done.
I think that is a great point, because I can relate to that, because there was a huge disconnect. And you said something very key that that spoke to me because it's something that I went through right before we bought the new house, which is all these projects that I'd committed to and have started or had told my wife, hey, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do this. And maybe your wife is very similar. And I'm not projecting. I don't know your relationship. I'm just talking to mine. My wife remembers everything I say. If I promised I would do something, if I said that I would do something.
Yes.
Those things are important to her because to her, being a man of my word or being a person that will not let her down because I said that I would do something is high on her list.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it came to selling our house, or even before that, she was like, well, you have all these things that you said that you were going to do for me. And I'm like, well, I never say I was going to do, like, I'm going to do it, but it's not like, I think you're taking it too personal. Like you're assuming this, like this is me not doing it somehow is me not loving you. She's like, well, I feel that way because you're saying that you were going to do this, but then you're, doing stuff for the car and I'm like, well, that's important. Like if I don't do that, your car's going to not have oil in it, or your tires are going to be rotated, or the garage, my tools are going to be everywhere. Okay, granted, yes, I guess it is important, but
some shit's less important.
Some shit's less important, like you said. I'd rather work on the car. I love that. I honestly think if I could make a huge amount of money just fixing cars, I probably would do that. Like I enjoy working on cars. I think I did it before, but
I promise you it's not as fun. It hurts.
No, I just love tinkering with stuff. Like
there's a huge difference.
That to me, when the satisfaction of fixing something after it didn't work is super satisfying to me. And cars are the only things that I've really tinkered with. And I just like learning stuff. I mean, I bet you if I did it for a year or two and then, you run into all these issues, you'd be like, I am totally done with it. But for now, the stuff that I've done.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I have fun with it. So I'll go out there and start doing things. But we had that same conversation. And I'm like, I had to take a step back. Like, okay, I did tell her I was going to do these things. I did say I would finish them. And I was pissed at myself and her, to be honest, for a long time. I was like, well, you had me doing all these other things. It's not like I was out playing. I always use video games because that's just, she knows that I don't do that and I don't find it anywhere near fun. But I'm like, it's not like I'm downstairs, just gaming. And then I come home and it's like I'm out doing stuff, or I'm here doing stuff. And so she completely understands that. But it's just like I had to take a step back to be like, okay, I needed to see the true priority, and I needed to she needed to tell me, and I just needed to own up and be like, okay, I didn't do it. I should have done it. Now I got to go back. And so that disconnect started growing and growing, but it wasn't like something that we communicated, at least that I was picking up right away. It was until we got to a certain point. She was like, you got all this shit you haven't done. And, it's created this big wedge because I feel like you're not a man of your word. And I'm like, whoa. What do you mean? Like, I stopped drinking. I've done all these different things to help out, blah, blah, blah.
It's the little shit. Like, it's crazy. Like, the big stuff matters, but it's like your bank account. You look at it, and $1 here and there is going to add up to $100 fast, just as much as that $100 purchase is. Because, I'm using money because we literally talked about it last night on our way home from your house, oddly enough. But that was a complete surprise. But, it's those little things, and sometimes those little things compound and they create a bigger issue, which, like talking about disconnect, some of the things is you have to break down, in my opinion, you have to break down the barriers and really be open and vulnerable. It's like last night she had asked me, she had said something. She's like, what's on your mind, kind of a thing. And I just kind of was like, I'm really pissed at myself, upset. 'Cause as much as I you know, I strive to do everything I can for my wife to make her happy, just like you do, you know, it's not even the happy wife, happy life type scenario. It's just that's our personalities is we want to, you know, they're the people we love and care about the most. And we want to make sure they can have what they want in life. And it's like between that and putting the procrastination, like it all kind of crashed into one, you know, and she asked me and she, you know, and I got all teary-eyed and upset because, I mean, it's frustrating. Like, I'm looking at it, I'm beating myself up, and I'm like, I know it's my fault. I'm taking the accountability. I can't walk away from it. It's not like I can be like, well, you had me, you know, at the end of the day, like, I could have been like, no, I'm getting this shit done. Yep. So at the end of the day, yes, we were running around. She wanted other things done, or we wanted to do other things, or I just flat ass didn't want to fucking do anything. Doesn't matter what it is, but at the end of the day, it still comes down to I put it off, and now I'm kicking myself in the ass. Which, I mean, again, hindsight 2020. Do I know what's gonna happen? You know, because what we're you know, the forward plan we want. I'm like, hell, you never know. Maybe in 6 months or something, somebody will have to move out of their house for a job or something, and it'll be the plan we want. Price point will be right, you know, and we'll be better off, whatever, you know. And so there's a handful of things that are going into it. She's like, I want to make sure. She's like, money wise says we can, but I want to make sure everything lands out before we commit to this massive payment, you know, especially doubling it. And I'm like, well, at the end of the day, we're buying you a car either way this year. So it's just whether we're buying a house with the car.
Yeah, right.
Or we're just buying the car. Either right. One, it doesn't matter. In the next 3 months, I want to have an option or less. I mean, my goal is by the end of this month, everything's ready, that if we're like, we're doing this, we're doing it. Right. Because I want to have that. I don't want to keep thinking about all this stupid shit that we need to get done, you know. It's like we made the step to go do this, you know, and I made the step to start getting all the numbers together, start getting things figured out, start getting contacts with people so that I know what I'm doing and where I'm going and all this shit, and, you know. And that's a huge thing for her is when I don't take the steps to do things, when I'm like, hey, let's do this, but I don't take any initiative in it. And, you know, at this point, I'm like, hey, I really want to do this. And she's like, yes, but now these are my reservations. And instead of taking that personally, I'm like, okay, what can I do to resolve those? Those are things that have kind of been,
which creates a connection.
Yeah,
because then you're aligned, you're working towards a common goal. And I would say it's normal to feel that way. Like for you and the way you felt, like I was there too, you know, because you look back like, fuck, dude, like I'm making this so much harder than it needs to be. And then you start thinking of all these things these days where you could have been like, did I really have to do that? Did I could have, we could do it right now, you know. But I would tell you that, you know, whatever, God, Yoda, whatever you believe in, spirit, I don't know, whatever, choose your faith, choose what you believe in. It will work out. It always does. No matter what decision, whether it's a yay or nay, everything works out.
Yeah,
that's just the way it's meant to be. It's just it's having faith in it, that you're projecting the right stuff out, and everything that's positive will come back to you. And it's just the way it is. And don't beat yourself up too much, and have your moment, and then just get shit done. Like that's just the way it needs to be, you know. And you move on, and you know, and luckily you have a great support system. You have me, and you have a bunch of different people in your life that are willing to get in here and get you whatever you need. If you need to get shit done, like we come in here and get it done. So, you know, that's the one great thing about our family is that we're all, you know, and I feel very blessed that I have that trait of handiness, that I can kind of figure things out. And so you're surrounded by a lot of guys in our family that are that same way, that be in here and be like, let's get it. If you need it, we'll get it done, you know. And
I will say this, my career choices in life, from where I started, like at the parts store when I was like 18 years old, to now, I have created so many connections. And the way I went about it, you know, my connections brought. I wasn't in an office where half the people don't know anybody. Like they know who's in their fucking office and that's it. You know, I've been out, you know, when it was out the parts store, I connected with, you know, auto shops. Well, then one of those auto shops offered me a job, which then connected me with a bunch of other people. And then, so I know people in the automotive industry. I know people and now my current job, you know, I know a decent amount of trade people, and the trade people I know even more trade people through their years of being in the trades and throughout their lives. So that's one thing. And, you know, that was one thing my boss said to me the other day when I kind of was telling him the scenarios going on. We were just sitting there talking. He's like, you know, at the end of the day, if you stay, you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. Like you can get anything you need done on that house through connections. And I'm like, yeah, you have a valid point. Like, you're not wrong. It's just what we want's not going to align with what we have currently. So,
right.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I'm glad that everything has a purpose to it, and whatever connection you guys are building now through all this, and it'll just help momentum going into whatever the next step would be, stay or not, and it's just everything that you can look at life. You can either choose it as a negative or positive, and the positive is that you're connecting with your wife and you're getting realigned of, okay, what are our priorities? What are the important things in our lives? Because I think those things change throughout the seasons of our lives. There was fitness for a long time for me. That was my number one priority. And I feel like it's great, but that can be also a selfish thing when you're only doing it on your own. And if you have bigger goals than that, then it's like, okay, what else can we focus on? What do we need to do together? What do I need to do individually and together? And then for my kid and then for my wife. I think that's the structure of a family. It's the structure of a father, of a man in his house. And I think the wife plays a crucial role in that. You know, she's the one that holds it all together. You know, she's the one that you come home to. And I've said this before, you're out there fighting whatever, you know, use medieval times. You got your armor on, you can come home, and she's the one that hears all your war stories, everything that you've been through. She holds you down. She lifts you back up. And I think people don't really appreciate that. But I think sometimes in life, we just have to take a step back and then build those connections so that relationship can flourish and actually be strong and go through, you know, these huge changes in your life, because this is a huge change that a lot of people can't go through, because one, they can't align on what the hell they're going to do. And two, the project things, I was, like I said, I was the same way. And then Taylor's like, no, like, I'm not saying this to like offend you or make you beat yourself up. I just want to fix it, and I want to move forward. And that's a connection to me, because I'm like, okay, she's not purposely trying to hurt me. It's the reality of it, and I don't need to sit and dwell on it. I just need to get it done. And it was a great experience, but it was a hell of a fucking ride. I mean, she even told me, she's like, I don't know if I could do this again. Like, you know, I can imagine building, you know, from the ground up and all these different things, because it is. I mean, you have to look it up. And they have like a list of the most stressful things in life that a human can go through. And I'm sure that buying and selling a home is on that list.
I sure as fuck hope it is, because it is stressful as shit.
Well, you look at the things that, like I said, your priorities have changed. And then you look at these, it's like health. It's like fitness. You know, you put that off for years and you're like, damn. Yeah. And then you're like, oh man, I should have done this. I should have done that. Why didn't I do this? And then you beat yourself up. But it goes back to, are you going to sit there or are you going to do action? Action, whatever it is you need to do. And home was the same thing. It's like, am I going to bitch, complain that I didn't finish any projects, or we didn't buy it in 2020 when fucking, or whatever year? People pick and choose what year was best for you. I don't know. People in 2020 was like, oh, I got the best rate. But you probably paid top dollar. I don't fucking know. Choose your poison. I don't think there's a perfect time for anything, unless you look 30 years from today and you'd be like, oh, you should have bought this day because the rates were this day and the prices, like, I don't know. And I don't have a fucking magic ball. So I'm like,
I was going to say it. And with that, we've come down to the fact that, it hindsight is 2020. You never know.
Always.
And, like I was talking, because we were talking to the realtor and everything, the representative, whatever. And I was like, okay, say I do buy this property and rates drop. Like, is there any contract on that number with you guys? And she's like, oh, absolutely not. Because, you never know, because some people might be like, you're locked into this lender, this for, whatever contracts. You're locked in for, your minimum 2 years with us before you can do
bullshit,
anything. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want, and this, like I was telling the lady yesterday, I was like, we want to see what we're up against, because this is a big ass investment. Like, this is a lot of money to commit to every month. I want to make sure that this is something we can even see ourselves in before we go through all the hassle of selling our house.
Right.
Going through all this work. Because, at the end of the day, if we'd walked in and been like, yes, we absolutely love it, it's beautiful, but we cannot see ourselves living here. Nope, not doing it.
Right.
I'm not doing it. And, the downside is you do see it and you're like, and that's where it was. But it's also a motivator for me. Like, okay,
exactly.
So what do I got to do? Because I'm like, okay, because I could have used the excuse that I'm upset that I can't give you what you want. It's whatever, 5, 6 o'clock, I just want to relax with you. I don't want to, I could have used every excuse, but I'm like, but it was kind of a motivator. It's like, hey, I got to get up and get this done. Like, okay, I'm going to go do this. Yes, it sucks because I'd rather just lay in bed with you, but I'm going to go finish tiling my shower, or I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. And even at the end, after I was done with that, I was like, I almost came in here and ripped our floor up in our bathroom. But I'm like, it's 8:30 at night. Like, I at some point I do need to stop and spend time with you and the kids and help you get the household ready for bed. Versus just trying to be selfish and get everything done in one night. That's not going to happen anyways. Like, you need to have that balance in life with all of that stuff. So that's kind of where, because I was telling her, this all leads to the whole disconnect thing. I'm circling back here. I was telling her, she's like, I don't know if that's going to make things any better. I said, well, it can't make things much worse. I said, now here's my reasoning behind it. You are upset that I haven't got a bunch of these projects done, and I understand that. So you're holding a little bit of resentment there. Mm-hmm. So us moving on to a different place where the projects are not a requirement is going to take that stress away from our life. Yes, we're just going to replace that with maybe more money we have to spend every month on the mortgage, but if you're happier with where you're at, it's not a big deal. And then it comes back to, and then I was thinking about it, I'm like, it makes it a lot easier for my mind to say, okay, go work that overtime, because I'm coming home to a happier house. I'm coming home to, I don't have to think about all the shit I got to do around my house, or all this stuff. I have to think, I got to make sure there's a little bit, I have the opportunity to put a little bit extra money into my bank account. Let's put a little bit extra money in my bank account to help her mind, to help this, to help that. It makes more sense. And then also I kind of look back at some of the people over the years that bought houses. I'm like, they've been making this payment for how long, doing what we do. Like, we can do it. It's not a big deal. And our house is bigger, because we also got talking about, that the places we're looking at, the square footage is the same, if not a little bit less than what we're in now. But we're like, we live in half of that.
Yeah.
Because we're using this current room, and she uses the room behind me.
Yeah.
And the room behind me is the only one that gets used. And that's maybe, I maybe use 700 less square feet than what I would be. So we're working on that connection, and I think us having what this all comes down to is us having more aligned goals to kind of work towards is bringing that connection back.
Exactly.
Whereas before it was kind of, we didn't know where we were at, so we started to drift apart, started to disconnect, because we'd let so much go away because we were just focused on life. And it's like, okay, now we got to bring it back.
Called surviving. Just surviving.
Well, and each person goes through ebbs and flows in life, you know, like she went into this funk and then I went into it, and then you can't connect when you're both at the bottom. But the only way to get out is to connect. So you have to try to figure out a way to do it.
That's right.
So
I love it, man. Well, great.
I appreciate you coming out.
I appreciate you, man. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity to come here, and then we'll get things moving forward. So I'm excited. We'll see.
Me too. Thank you guys for the opportunity to talk to you. Do you have a challenge?
A good challenge.
I mean, simple. Just work on reconnecting with.
Yeah, just take the time with your spouse, friends,
whatever.
There
you go. If you got a spouse, take 15 minutes to just sit there and hold them. Don't not work towards funny business.
Yeah.
Just hold them and enjoy that moment and fully embrace it, you know, and love and give each other a little bit extra for that 15 minutes.
I love it.
Or friends, go spend 15 minutes and just completely take your cell phone.
Yeah, take that thing and chuck it.
Throw it. Don't even keep it on the table. Don't keep it out. Put it in your pocket, whatever. So that's the challenge. There you go. I stole it from you.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Love you.